Hello everybody and welcome to this BSI and ISO webinar from the Quality Management Committee, ISO TC 176, about building sustained success in your organisation. In this session, we're going to look at why innovation and emerging technologies are key to sustained success. I'm just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping and then we will get going. This is a listen-only webinar. It is being recorded and you will not be able to speak. However, we do want you to communicate with us, so please use the Q&A function, ask us questions, and don't wait till the end. Do it as we go, and we'll answer the live questions throughout the webinar as appropriate, and any we haven't managed, we'll finish with before we close. If you have any technical difficulties, please use the Q&A function, and our technical team will help you. This is a CPD recognised event, so please do request your certificate via the feedback survey. And you will also, when you fill in that survey, get access to slides and a link to the recording of the event, which you can share with other people. Thank you. We're now going to go to a webinar from our chair of ISO TC 176 to introduce you today.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Hunt, Chair of ISO Technical Committee 176. Our committee is responsible for the standards affecting quality management and quality assurance. ISO TC 176 is comprised of experts in quality management from around the world and includes participating members from 92 countries and observing members from 32 countries. Our committee and subcommittees are responsible for 21 published standards. Importantly, our work also directly supports 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The need for standards continues to grow in a VUCA world. The volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity created by global interconnectedness, rapid change, and technological innovation has resulted in organizations needing the benefits of standards to deliver excellence more than ever. About a year ago, our committee undertook to elevate the discussion about how existing standards can help users improve quality in their organizations. In addition, the committee felt it is important to communicate the positions on developing future trends in quality management. The Quality Day webinars were born out of these objectives. I am pleased you are able to join us today and know you will hear important discussions from our esteemed panel of experts. The 3 topics today are future concepts in 9004, innovation with emerging technologies, and why people are at the heart of sustained success. Each session is live, but the sessions will be recorded for distribution after the event. I encourage you to actively participate in the sessions. The panel members are looking forward to an engaging discussion. Thank you for attending and enjoy your Quality Day.
So now, without further ado, let me introduce myself and our esteemed panel. My name is Sally Swindwood. I work for BSI, the UK's standards body, and I'm also actively involved in ISO TC 176. With us today are colleagues from the technical committee, and I would ask you all to turn on your cameras now, please. And if you would like to introduce yourself, Alka first, please. You're still muted, Alka.
Great, Sally, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to attend this particular webinar. I have worked in several Fortune 500 companies such as Hitachi, Cisco, Apple, and others in leadership and management roles. Have published 11 books in the areas of technology, innovation, and quality. Since last 25 years, I have also been an adjunct professor in the computer science master's program in one of the leading universities in San Francisco Bay Area, and have been a past chair of US TAG Technical Assistant Group to TC 176. I'm also an American Fellow.
Thanks very much, Alka, and great that you're here, despite the early start for you. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Sally. Of course. My name is Thomas Wurzmeier. I work in Frankfurt in Germany at the German Association for Quality. and I'm since many years active in the standardization field at TC176, TC207, and ISO Casco, and I'm chair of the German Mirror Committee, and also coordinating some activities at the European Organization for Quality, AOQ, and I'm also representative of AOQ at TC176.
Thanks very much, Thomas. And now Sandra, please, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, Sally, and hello, world, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So I'm a lecturer at Porto Polytechnic and a researcher at the Knowledge Innovation Center. As Sally said, I'm a member of TC176, but I have been collaborating with standardization bodies in several projects and technical committees for over a decade. And my focus is usually on bridging the worlds of academia and the worlds of standardization in order to help generate sustainable innovation to solve societal problems. So I'm really happy to be here discussing this subject because I'm really enthusiastic about it. And so thank you, BSI, for the invite. Let's do it.
Great to have you here, Sandra. If I could just remind all of the panelists to mute yourselves when you're not speaking, it just helps with the audio quality. We want to make sure all of our attendees can hear us. Thank you very much. Finally, Leo, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, Sally. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. My name is Leo Colombo. I am from Argentina, currently based in Barcelona. I have been engaged with quality management since 1997 in Rio de Janeiro. That was my first TC176 meeting. And since then, you know, I really fall in love with quality and quality management, and has been a very good husband for several years. But in 2013, I started cheating quality management since I moved to innovation management. And now I work in also a lot in that technical committee. So quality management is my main background, and innovation management has been my main activity in the last, I would say, 9 years. And in my profession, I have the opportunity to work as a quality manager in some corporations, also certification director in some certification bodies, and now as a consultant. So I have been in both sides of the desk. For the reason I can understand a bit how to apply these ISO and ISAs and other standards regarding the different approaches. And that's it. That's it. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope I can answer your questions.
Well, we shall soon find out, Leo. Let's get the conversation started. We've got a good range of experience, a good geographical range here, so I'm hoping for some really interesting conversations. Let's begin by just having a look at the ISO task group on emerging trends in quality, which, as Jeffrey Hunt mentioned, is really behind this series of webinars. We want to engage with you, the users of our standards, to tell you about what we're doing, but also to hear what you think is coming, what we need to take into account when we're revising our documents or developing new documents. So far, since this work began in 2018, we have explored and written short papers on customer experience, people aspects, integration, the whole list that's on the screen in front of you. This morning, we really looked at agility in our first session of the day and how important that is. We're now going to look at innovation and emerging technologies, which is huge. I'm not sure 90 minutes is going to cover it, but we'll see how we can do. And this afternoon, we're going to look further into the people aspects that are really important for quality management and becoming more so all the time. So if we can move on, please. So let's get the conversation underway. I'm going to ask all of you to say something on this. Why do you think innovation and technology are so important to building sustained success? For example, Thomas, what topics are discussed in the German Quality Association?
Yes, thank you. I will start and give some ideas about the topics we discuss or what we are thinking about. I think innovation at least is needed as one answer to the rapidly and increasing growing changes. We have the actual situation in the business environment that we have very huge structural changes on all the scales worldwide, in Europe and in Germany as well. Currently, we see increasing velocity of changes in the world, in the society, and in the business environment. Complexity in all circumstances are also arising. So there is a need for adaptation of companies to these rapidly changes, from more stable and long-standing situations in the past to constant changes actually and in future. And I think this results in the need of innovation to hold positions as leading companies and economies. They need the ability to innovate using methods and management techniques, as well as the fostering of an innovation culture. Innovations are essential for success and competitiveness of companies, results in added value, and at least for customers through new products and services. And the primary innovation focus in the past has been set in product development processes. Today, also business process and organizational innovations are necessary and in the focus of innovation. Nowadays, the VUCA world is reality in many parts of the business, and we have unstable, rapidly changing, faster production cycles, increasing dynamics, disruption, including the needs for innovation in several fields. So new and actual dynamics need massively innovations from organizations to stay successful, and the use of new technologies is a key topic hereby. And why is now technology so important? I think the use of new technology helps and is necessary to make things better, offer new business opportunities, allow to use new business models for sustainable organizational success. What has happened in the last years concerning digitalization? Some basics. We have a digital disruption that is ongoing. Changes in paradigms are part of it. Internet is a new social action area. Things can be changed into data and data into things. And artificial intelligence is available. All these are ingredients for the third industrial revolution. And related to the manufacturer sector, this revolution integrates several technologies as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud computing, cyber physical systems, and others. And the target is to make industry processes smart by interconnecting machines and devices that control each other throughout the life cycle. Triggering innovations hereby are the computer technologies and the networking of computers via internet, including cyber physical system and Internet of Things. And at least, of course, information is everywhere available. Connection with people and integrating of data is essential. And the data availability is extremely increasing. As you all know, you gather information from several points, from several sources, from the clients via social media, data from suppliers, data created by products. All of them are giving feedback to the producing company. And at least the change in data analytics is ongoing, from data analysis in isolated systems into integrated analysis. And in general, digitalization and integration of systems is ongoing. This means virtualization of processes, integration of processes, automatic control of processes, and so on. At least the integration between actors, interconnectedness between customers and product developers is a trend and also necessary. And at least the integration of sustainability-related topics is an increasing need. So that means at least to survive and have sustainable success, the reaction and adaptation of business model and the usage of actual technology is a must. The changes in business environment based on the mechanisms and tools of Industry 4.0 must be understood, analyzed, and reacted from every organization. And the degree of usage of special technologies depends on the business sector and the competitiveness of the environment. Thank you. So far, my input.
That was a lot of input there, Thomas. There's a lot for us to unpick, which is great. We've already touched on the fourth industrial revolution, for example. I mean, it's huge. So Alka, perhaps building on what Thomas is saying, what are the kind of challenges that innovation and technology can usefully address for our audience?
Absolutely. So both of these are main tools to advance an organization and solve problems. Thomas mentioned a couple of times as far as data is concerned, and the entire process of problem solving in a corporation really is gathering the data and developing remedial solutions. Innovation process tools can crunch data, produce reports of projections, project pitfalls, and future performance to enable making business decisions for smooth operations. And that's what today's global environment really requires. As you know, that latest technological support systems focus on raw data to foresee problems that human minds can really not see. And that alone can predict a plan. And then there are decision support systems that are used with artificial intelligence, which Thomas also mentioned, in medical profession to make informed decision about the patients. We are all familiar with the collaboration tools, which are one of the most innovative approach of the 20th century and 21st century. During pandemic, we all suffered through, and many corporations were able to continue their business because of collaborative tools such as Zoom, WebEx, and many others. Without these tools, we know that the corporation work would stop, the organization work would stop, and the travel was not possible during that time. So these are all the challenges, and there are several other challenges that I will be discussing at a later time in this webinar as far as technology and where we are with major Fortune 500 companies. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Alka, and we look forward to hearing more as we go on. Sandra, innovation's at the heart of what you do. What do you see its role in building long-term success for organizations?
Well, I think long-term success always depends in any context, any setting, always depends on our capacity to adapt to the circumstances. Life is dynamic, so the world is dynamic, markets are dynamic. So circumstances are changing very often, and lately even more often than usual. We are living in a very, very fast-paced world. So the adaptations needed to thrive in this fast-paced world as individuals or as organizations require new products, new services, new methods, new processes, or new ways of using these methods and processes and products and services. And these new product service processes or the new ways of using them is roughly the definition of innovation. So we absolutely need innovation to thrive in life because life is dynamic. And to achieve innovation, we need technology, but I'm pretty sure we'll have plenty of time to discuss the importance of technology as well. But yeah, in short, I think that's it.
So it's fundamental to everything, essentially, is what you're saying, Sandra. Okay.
Can't
Leo,
live without it.
Go on, Sandra.
No, we can't live without it. And that is what humankind has been doing. Not only humankind, I think this applies to all human beings. We have been doing innovation as a mode of survival in this planet. All human beings do that. We might be a little better with technology. That's probably what differentiates us from other species. But all species innovate to survive.
Very true. Leo, you've got a really good broad perspective from Latin America to Europe. Do you find there are different attitudes in different parts of the world to technology, use of technology to innovation?
Well, certainly there is. The context is completely different from developing countries into developed countries. So there are. It's not only because resources, the availability of resources is different. It's also sometimes because the culture is completely different, and you know, the approach to change in Latin America, I'm not going to say that it's the same in all the countries, because it is not. Latin America is a huge region, but there are some commonalities. For instance, you know, I would say that Central America and all those countries on the Pacific side of South America are more conservative in culture. Religion is more important in those countries, and that's affect in the way you manage creativity in organizations, and you manage the tolerance to failure in an organization. So, and that's affecting innovation. Certainly it does. The sense of hierarchy in Latin America is a lot stronger than in Europe, for instance, or in North America. So people sometimes is reluctant to express their ideas because you know they think that maybe, you know, they are going to be punished because thinking different to the boss, or because different thinking out of the box. So certainly it's not only because resources, that of course resources, the availability of resources is different. In Latin America is, you know, it's very difficult. I have been also working in some African countries, and you know, sometimes just having paper for printing is a whole difficult. It's completely difficult to print something. So imagine you would like to prototype or to test. There is not availability of laboratories, you know, materials or whatever. So it's not so easy in those countries to, you know, to promote and to materialize innovation. But by the other side also, as Sandra says a few minutes ago, to survive in those environments where there is a lot of political instability, economy is not good, and so on, you became a creative person because you have to survive. So in critical situations, human beings are very creative and can make huge innovation without even just with a bottle of water, plastic water, and two pieces of good, you can be creative. So I have a friend who has been working in, you know, in the refugee camps in Middle East, teaching creativity. And he told me, you know, you don't know how creative people is when you are in those limit situations. So for one side, we're very conservative. We don't have resources, and, you know, and we have a culture that you know, hierarchy and failure are not very well accepted. But by the other side, those limitations in some way are, you know, advantage to be creative and innovate, just to try to be out of there. And more or less that's my feeling about, you know, the differences. Here in Europe, well, it's completely different. You know, people are more in a comfort zone, and when you're in a comfort zone, I'm not saying they are not going to be innovative, because Europe and is very innovative as a society. But I would say that the drivers are different.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Leo. You're quite right, because when you have nothing, you are forced to be innovative. If you have less resource, and when you have lots of resources, perhaps sometimes that stifles innovation because there are too many options. It's an interesting take on it. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. And we're going to actually talk about the I word, as it was known when we worked on the last revision of ISO 9001. The word innovation was a word that immediately had half the room going, oh dear, oh no, and the other half going, yes, yes, yes. So it's been a hot topic in the quality management community for a long time. Why? And is it relevant to all our organisations? Because I seem to remember that was part of the discussion. You don't want every organisation to be innovative. Leo, I'm going to come to you first, just building on what you said before. Why do you think it is such a prickly topic in the world of quality management?
Well, I remember back in the 2015, I have interesting discussion with the ALCA on this subject. And Well, I would say that intellectually we were in a boxing ring regarding innovation and quality management. I think that now we are closer in our thinking to this, how these two disciplines are related to. But when we modified ISO 9000 to the current version, I think was a huge discussion. I was in the side of the guys looking, to put more of innovation work into the standard. But I mean, in some way, there is a relationship between both concepts. There is an overlapping in some areas. More even if you think in those two concepts with a systemic point of view. As a system, we share several elements. But however, our goals are different. But in some way, there is a continuation in between both disciplines, mainly when you talk about, continuous improvement and incremental innovation. Always, when do you stop to improving and you started to innovate? When you are talking about incremental innovation. So discussing in that frontier is no sense. But I would say that there are differences. For us in innovation, failure is a possible outcome. So nobody gets mad if you fail. That's one of the options. In quality, everything is done not to fail. So when you fail, wow, everybody gets crazy. National conformance, they paint it, cross it, labels, and so on. We have to take this out. This shouldn't happen again. And for us, it's a learning process. Okay, this is not the way we have to go. The story tells that when Edison was in a conference and he told that, a participant asked, how do you know that the carbon filament was the one that it works? And he said, because I tried 900 different elements before. And the participant said, so you failed 900 times. No. I learned that 900 materials didn't work. It's not a failure, it's a learning lesson. So the way we approach the discipline is different, but we share some elements, and there is some continuity from quality management to innovation management, although there are two different disciplines pursuing different goals. I don't know if I have been too much critical what Arca is looking at me, and I don't know.
Well, we're going to bring Alka in now. As you said, you were two halves of a boxing ring. We can't let Alka speak.
Oh, I tell you, Sally, I really love those discussions with Arca because, it's in those discussions, and you were in part of those teams sometimes. It's where you really learn, when you find people from the same disciplines, other countries, other cultures, and you crash your thinking, and it's where you learn and you grow. I really like that. For that reason, I love standardization, because gives that opportunity to you, that is going to be completely impossible in your normal environment. Sorry, I talk too much. You have to control me, Sally. Say, stop, Leo, stop, Leo. I'm Latin, so I talk. Sorry.
Well, maybe later, but I was enjoying what you were saying, and I think other people were too. And you're right, it's one of the joys of developing standards is that global community coming together and having those discussions. So, anybody listening, get involved. We want you there. We like hearing different viewpoints. Alka, do come in. What was your take on the whole discussion, and has your view changed?
Absolutely. So Leo and I go long ways, and we have always debated and discussed many of the critical issues that are facing the business organizations. Ultimately, we have one meeting of minds. So innovation is very critical across all industries. It is amazing. I remember one time for marketing position that my niece applied at Nestle, she was asked, what would you do if you were in space with a matchbox? And later on, my niece was asking me, what did this question have as far as relevance is concerned to marketing position? And I looked at her and I said, it is thinking out of the box. If you are in space with a matchbox and nothing else, what would you do with it? And as Leo said, it really makes a human being creative, and that's what marketing is. Although it can be easy, innovation and even technology can be easily included in a product and technology development category, it refers to fundamental change the whole organization must go through. And not only that, it is a continuous process, as successful innovation really allows you to add value to your business and stay ahead of competition in this rapidly changing environment. So if you were to look at medical drones, that is the latest innovation. Medical drones have saved so many lives, have delivered medicines and supplies to rural areas. And the latest innovative device, the wearable breast cancer detector. Look at how many human lives will be saved by that innovation. So all across any industry, we earlier talked about collaborative tools, and that can be used by any industry, whether you are a small company or a large Fortune 500 company such as Johnson & Johnson. It really enables us to be agile and meet increased customer demand and help you understand where to enlarge your business scope. And not only that, earlier in this discussion, a lot of emphasis was placed on data. And what is data? It is a huge database collector where the data is collected and then diagnosed to make sure that certain patterns comes out of it and you can make informed decisions. So as far as innovation is concerned, and also Leo and Sally and Sandra and Sally, you also have emphasized, it cannot be separated at all. If you want to be successful, you have to be innovative, whether you're a human being or whether you're using a tool. So that's what I will say.
Thank you very much, Alka. And I'm going to come to Sandra now because she was also part of those discussions. So I'd like to hear your take on it and also on the relevance of innovation for different types of organisations, different sectors. If I remember rightly, one of the big arguments when we were developing 9001 for the 2015 edition was from the medical devices community, where they were going, we don't want constant innovation. We need some stability because we have to have safety testing, for example. But does that make innovation not relevant to that sector or to the quality management in that sector? What do you think?
No, Sally, I think I have a very democratic view on that. I think innovation is equally relevant to any sector, any size of organization. I think the debate and doubts that people have is more on semantics and terminology. It's because some people think of innovation as big scientific breakthroughs in physics and astrophysics and stuff like that. So they believe, oh, that doesn't apply to my small company in my simple sector of industry. And that is not the case, in my opinion, at least. All organizations need to adapt to circumstances to thrive in whatever market they are operating. We are living in a world where these changes are happening at a totally unprecedented pace. So this need to adapt is not every 10 years or 5 years or 1 year or 1 month. Sometimes it's daily, depending on the sector, but it applies to all sector. So I think the relevance here has 2 points of view. I think there is no debate. I think it's pretty consensual that innovation is the base for development, for survival. But what I think we need to also consider now as relevant is how organizations are going to have a different interpretation of the concept of innovation, including, as Leo reminded, the incremental innovation, little adaptations you do to your products and services and to your methods, so you are more efficient and more effective, and then more efficient after you are already 100% effective. And you really need to, you as an organization really need to consider taking very seriously a process of innovation in your organization. And when Leo was talking, and then Alka, I was thinking of something that I heard many years ago in a conversation with Lynn Heward. Lynn Heward is a former Cirque du Soleil creative director. I don't know if she's now retired, or I think she's working as a consultant now. But Lynn Heward told me once that creative people will always create. And as Leo also highlighted, challenges are a great boost to people's creativity. So creative people will always have ideas. But to transform ideas into innovation, that is a little bit more complicated. That requires a sturdy process with many dimensions, many aspects inside an organization that allows those ideas to then become innovative products or innovative services or innovative processes. So become innovation and not only just fantasies, just ideas, theoretical ideas. So I believe that it is very relevant now for organizations to seriously consider to develop and implement an innovation process inside their organizations, and to truly master it, to make sure they are prepared to adapt to all these circumstances that are changing at this unprecedented fast pace.
Thanks, Sandra. And we have a comment from one of our attendees who's saying it is interesting how the pandemic forced many to innovate because we had to find another way of doing things, which of course is what Alka was talking about before. And it has sparked a lot of innovation in business, suddenly having the world shut down around you, but you still want to do things. It brought out the creative in people, did it not? And then there's a question of one of our other attendees today. Continuous improvement is a core element of every quality management system. How would you define the actual difference between improvement and innovation? Who should I go to for that? I'm going to come to Thomas because we haven't spoken to Thomas for a little while.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and many discussions have gone around to it. I think I cannot give a very clear answer. I think there are differences in the way how you change things, how you improve or innovate. And I think perhaps some keywords like breakthrough innovation can be taken here as an example for very fundamental changes in thinking, and at least I think it's a continuum of different changes from the process of continual improvement on the one hand is process-based and making things better and better and better in processes, and on the other end you have a fundamental change and a basic change related with innovation. So that would be my view to it.
Well, let's hear some other views in case they're different. Alka, what would you think the difference is between improvement and innovation?
Depending on what the improvement is, it is very intertwined with innovation. Because if you have an existing process, and if you're automating it, meaning if you're digitizing it, there's a lot of efforts into digitization these days, and that is considered one of the innovations. And I've not heard anybody saying, hey, we have improved They've said we have innovated the process. But if you really look at major companies like Apple, they would never say we have improved the lives of our people by coming up with iPhone. They would say we have innovated a device, an innovative device. We have given it to the people so that they can continue whatever they are doing, and thus improving it. So it goes back to my earlier comment. Innovation and improvement, they are very intertwined. Innovation in certain cases, if you're just coming out of blue and coming up with something completely new, like what Apple did with iPhone, it is very innovative. It is something that did not exist. Innovation, if you're looking at drones, which did not exist before. But if it was a process that was there before and you're just changing it a little bit to improve the flow of the process, then it can be called improvement. But depending on it, I have seen in the industry, both of those words are so intertwined that it's hard to separate.
Thanks, Alka. I'm going to jump to Leo now, because I think the point you were making about failure is really relevant in this conversation, that innovation depends to a degree on failure. You need to be able to fail to innovate. Is it the same for improvement?
Well, that's one of the points. I mean, you can differentiate for innovation and improvement if you measure the degree of uncertainty you're moving around and the level of risk you're taking. Higher is the uncertainty and higher is the risk, higher is the chance that you may fail. Okay, so to differentiate innovation from improvement, you have to focus on the degree of uncertainty you are managing and the level of risk you're assuming. The higher are both of them, closer you are to be in the innovation area. Okay, besides the degree of novelty, of course, because innovation has to be something new delivering value. But I mean, to differentiate if you are improving or you're innovating, you have to focus in the risk you are taking and the degree of uncertainty you are moving on. Those are two key characteristics to differentiate improvement from innovation.
Thanks, Leo.
I notice a credit in improvement. I see that continuous improvement usually, happens in an environment where you have more control of the process, and the success of the outcome is quite higher that you will get there. Otherwise, you don't do it sometimes. But that's for me is the main difference.
And this again comes back to a lot of those conversations that I think we had when we were revising ISO 9001, Sandra. The innovation conversation, the improvement conversation, they were separate but related, weren't they?
Yes, but I think there is a tiny difference, or maybe at least there is, if you think of these concepts together with another one, which is ethics. I believe if you look at them through the lens of ethics, all improvements are at a certain point, big degree, small degree, but at a certain point, all improvements are innovations, but not all innovations imply improvement. Let me give you a very radical, silly example. If someone develops a new way of murdering a person, of killing a person, if it's a new method of doing it, it's an innovation by definition. But is it an improvement? If you take the lenses of ethics, might be, for the perspective of the murderer, might be a more efficient way of killing someone. But if you put again the concept of ethics, and I think the concept of ethics for us human beings are quite important and the base for everything. So it's not a lens that we should take from the way we analyze things and concepts. So if you use this lens, then not all innovations are necessarily improvements.
I think that's a fascinating way of looking at it, Sandra, and you're absolutely right. And of course, ethics is something we have been looking at in TC 176 and the growing importance of ethics for our customers. Customers are taking ethical stances on things. So you're absolutely right. When we're talking about innovation versus improvement, that is one of the big dividers. Is it actually ethically correct to make that innovation, to make that leap? Is an important question.
Yeah. And in the times we are in with breakthrough innovations on data science, science and artificial intelligence, ethics plays a paramount role of how this is going to end, or in which path are we going to follow in the future? Because not everything that can be done should be done. This is actually a very classic statement in bioethics, which is not everything that can be done should be done if we want to keep humanity, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on from innovation to look a little bit more at emerging technologies and the key emerging technologies that can help organizations. Disruptive technology is described as one of the key megatrends in the world for 2022. And only a year or two, people talked about emerging technology rather than disruptive technology. But now it's all about the disruption. Why is that a good thing? How is that going to help us be successful and build sustained success? Thomas, what are your general thoughts on this?
Yeah, my thoughts are a little bit going in the direction to have a look what are the main emerging technologies at the moment, and what is discussed at the moment, and at least the individual use of emerging technologies always depends on the economical sector and the branch of the organization, and is very different. And so the use cases are very different, and the tasks that are supported by emerging technologies as a basis in information or topic. If you look, what are the main emerging technologies that are discussed or implemented? Some key information, as already mentioned, the Internet of Things, big data analysis, artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual reality, digital engineering, and blockchains are technologies that are implemented more and more in special sectors. And I looked in the German society or business environment, what are topics where these technologies are implemented. And I found a study from the company Infosys, and they said that about 80% of digital technologies are already used in the core IT business, around about 60% in business process management, and around about 60% in customer relationship management. So that are the topics where we can see there are these technologies active and in use. Another thing is, as already mentioned, the topic smart data use for smart business processes. And there, for many companies, essential trends in digital transformation are the areas of product development, knowledge management, and through process modernization, automation, and collaboration. And all these rely on smart data analysis, and you see everywhere this big data analysis topic is very important. And at least I think the most relevant let's say in Germany, in my environment, discussed technologies are the use of artificial intelligence, smart manufacturing is an important topic, 3D print, and the different possibilities of virtualizations. And they are introduced in several industrial use cases, especially in the field, for example, predictive maintenance, quality inspection, and assurance, in manufacturing process optimization, supply chain optimization, cyber security and privacy, resource optimization, but also in education and disaster management. You can find these the implementation of these technologies. So at least I would say there's a big range of emerging technologies available and rapidly further developed in these times. And depending on the industry field of the organization, the possibilities should be analyzed and decided what kind of activities can be supported and further developed or innovated using these specific technologies. That's my input.
Many thanks, Thomas. I'm going to turn to Alka now. Alka, you have worked for very large organisations which are all about technology. They are built on technology, like Cisco, like Hitachi. What are the driving technologies in those types of organisations, would you say, at the moment?
Absolutely. So before I go there, let me add a little bit more to what Thomas just said as far as emerging technologies are concerned. There are augmented reality and robotic process automation technologies that are being used currently by many organizations, including Bitcoins. And Sally, you did ask about large organizations, so I will talk about Hitachi. Hitachi uses artificial intelligence and big data analysis and other technologies. Hitachi's artificial intelligence and machine learning not only impact services and products, but also how other industries such as healthcare, shipping, and finance operate. The word H is Hitachi's artificial intelligence technology, which uses natural language processing and deep learning process that humans will really miss. This technology searches conditions that are relevant to business objectives based on data it receives and determines a method to optimize the objectives. And then the management of Hitachi uses these objectives to optimize customer experience and customer service. Similarly, you know, I just talked about Hitachi, but also IKEA. Everybody is very familiar with the large corporation IKEA. They have developed an application called Plus app that you can use with your cell phone camera. And what it does is it allows you to capture images of an item in IKEA in augmented reality condition, and you can then place that particular item in your home on your camera and see how it would look. Just imagine going to a store and picking up something and just at once, within seconds, you would know exactly how that item would look in your house. That will just change the complete buying experience. The cosmetic companies such as L'Oreal has partnered with Facebook, and what they have done is they have also come up with augmented reality where individuals can use all kinds of makeup, different expensive makeup such as Maybelline, Urban Decay, and others, and try them on augmented reality. If you really look at it, an average woman in the world spends something like $313 a month on making their appearance really good. This averages to something like $3,756 a year. And over the lifetime, an average lifetime, it amounts to something like $225,000 plus on cosmetics for a woman. When we add this, it is a huge dent to our budget. And this augmented reality really does help organizations to enhance themselves and also enhance what they do with the customers and their products. So to sum it up, emerging technologies that the organizations really need to go after, but of course, artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence is not for everyone because it needs certain skill set. If you're a corner shop and a small shop with just 7 employees, artificial intelligence would be very difficult to implement because of the skill set of your employees. But there are other technologies, smaller technologies, such as robotic process automation or augmented reality that can be really implemented by some of the companies. So depending on what your needs are, depending on how big your corporation is, you will have to select which technology to go after.
I think that's absolutely fascinating, Alka, the importance of using these new technologies to enhance your customer experience. Quality management's all about customer satisfaction, but we've been talking for some years now about that it's bigger than that. It is about the whole experience with your organization, whether we want to come back, whether we recommend it to our friends. And what you're talking about, as you say, is an opportunity to use this technology to not waste money, to only buy things that will suit us and serve us and that we actually want by being able to test it out before time. And I think that's absolutely fundamental to this whole conversation of driving sustained success. It's how do we use these amazing things that are coming through to improve our customer experience? That's one of the things that will help us survive as a business and thrive as a business, right? Okay, let's have a look. Let's come back round to have a look at how these new technologies can drive innovation. Sandra, what's the Innovation Centre's take on it?
Okay, I would like to maybe go a bit back to the basics, and because again, the same way innovation, the concept of innovation is interpreted in different ways, as we already highlighted. I think the concept of technology might not be the same to everyone. There are obviously plenty of definitions of technology. Even at ISO, there are more than one definition of technology, depending on the standards. But if you take a look at 10 or 20 different definitions of technology, you will see that their core is the same. So some are more detailed, some are less detailed, more synthetic, but their core is the same. Technology is the application of science-based tools. Well, some definitions say scientific knowledge, tools, methods, and so on, but in the end, it's science-based tools, the application of science-based tools to achieve an objective, and that objective is often a problem that needs to be solved. And then we go back to the adaptation to circumstances that organizations need to do on a daily basis nowadays. So in a way, if technology is the application of science-based tools to solve a problem, we can say that technology is what generates innovation, because the way we are going to solve that problem, it will be with a new method or a new process or a new service or a new product and so on. However, when you have new products and new services and new methods and new processes, you also create new gaps. You have a new product, you create the gap that people need to learn to use that product, and so on. Same with methods and processes. So when you innovate, then you create again gaps that need to be fulfilled through technology. So they are retrofits, technology and innovation, and you can't really separate them because they retrofeed each other continuously. So technology generates innovation, innovation creates new issues that need to be solved. They will be solved again through technology by generating innovation to solve the problems and so on. So this interdependence is what requires an infrastructure to deal with on a continuous basis. And that is basically what we do at the Knowledge Innovation Center in different areas. We work in different areas. I don't even work with the more IT, so the concept of technology in most people is things more computer related, but even if technology is any kind of science-based tool that we can apply to solve a problem. So I work a lot more with the standardization and quality in education part of it. But in this area of KIC that I work, what we are really making an effort to is to bridge academia with society, because on academia, you have the infrastructure to develop the science and to develop the science-based tools that then can be transferred into the society to solve the problems, the societal problems that exist and that need solution. And we are doing this bridging in a triangular way. We are trying to bridge academia and society, but bringing the standardization world and the quality infrastructures world, so standardization, metrology, and conformity assessment into this triangle, because standardization has a huge role in helping do the knowledge transfer from academia into the society by sitting the stakeholders at the same table, by making sure that people collaborate across the world and try to reach these science-based tools faster and in a consensual way, so we don't have so many concurrent different ways of solving problems. And by doing this triangle of bridging this triangle with three important stakeholders, which is academia, the society, and standardization, what we are trying to do is to create a long-term infrastructure and long-term habit for organizations for these different organizations to communicate continuously. So in the future, any problem that the society has can be easily communicated to academia, so academia can start work on it and then communicates into the standardization world, which will help do the knowledge transfer as products and services into the society to solve those problems. I don't know if I was clear. I know this is a little bit complex what we do, particularly if people are not very familiar with quality infrastructures, standardization and conformity assessment. But yeah, that's basically our take with innovation and technology and the way they interact.
Thank you, Sandra. And please, audience, ask questions. If Sandra said too much or not enough, let us know. Do ask questions. We are here to answer them. I would like to come to Leo, also working in the innovation space in Europe at the moment. Is your view the same? Are you having the same kind of conversations? And then after I've spoken to Leo, Akla, I'm going to come to you.
Well, I would say that I'm pretty aligned with Sandra said, relating the relationship between technology and innovation, that one generates the other and so on. So, and if we think in any of those new technologies that Thomas highlighted and also Alka mentioned, any of these by itself can generate a complete revolution and a complete set of new innovations in the industry. So 3D printing, industrial Internet of Things, robotics, advanced robotics, nanotechnology, new materials, I don't know, big data, any of these in an individual way can, generate a lot of innovation in particular industries. So imagine what we are seeing now is all those technologies interacting confluencing all together in what we are calling, you know, the fourth industrial revolution or industry 4.0. It's all these new technologies coming together. So obviously there is a huge amount of innovation being generated with all this technology. Sometimes I argue myself, is this driving innovation or is this pushing innovation? For the reason I go back a bit to what Sandra has said, you know, it's like a circle, you know, in this, now they are pushing, but the year after they are driving and so on. So, and this is amazing. From my point of view, is I'm a bit retired already at my age, so I don't worry. This is a problem with the young people, you know. How you're going to be able to manage all this intoxication of new technologies and you know, and possibilities to take advantage of all of this and remain competitive. On my times, if you have a good idea and you innovate, you can rest, you know, on the beach for 5 years. Nobody will, you know, bother you. Now you came with an innovation, and the week after somebody's coming with something better, with a completely different approach, using a completely new technology. It's a huge challenge to be in the industry today, to be able to deal with all these new technologies coming together at the same time. The amount of possibilities and opportunities are bringing to you. And this is one of the points, maybe we talk later on, but Sandra mentioned it, and it's collaboration. And I mean, that is something that maybe ISO 9000 will have to take into account, that talks a bit about collaboration in the future, because it's impossible for one company to do this by itself. So it's collaboration, the way you can survive here, you know, getting what you need from outside, because it's impossible to manage all these technologies in-house. You will have to collaborate, and you will have to make consortia for different issues. Collaboration is going to be an issue very linked to the chances you have to use technology to innovate. Thank you.
Can I add something very quickly, Sally?
Well, Alka wants to speak as well, so let's let Alka come in first, and then I'll come back to you, Sandra.
So thank you, Sally. We will not do justice to our audience if we were not to touch the cloud. Cloud can be considered technology. It can be considered a service. But what cloud has done is really helped organizations not to worry about their data centers and how to control and the privacy and security issues as far as the data centers are concerned. It has created other challenges, but it is, in many company and many executives' mind, it is a technology to better serve their customers. So I just wanted to touch upon cloud to let our audience know that in many, many cases, it can be an innovation, it can be a service, or it can also be considered a technology.
Thank you, Alka. And Sandra?
It was just to following what Leo said and also what I said. This problem, which is a real problem because our human capacity is limited, this problem of the quantity of emergent technologies and diversity of emergent technologies and the fast pace at which they are being nowadays generated, that is where I think that standardization can play a role in helping creating these collaborative spaces and collaborative cultures. And also, we must not forget that standardization is very often and hopefully a lot more in the future a precursor for policy making. And we can see in several regions of the world some initiatives. An example would be the European Standardization Strategy, which is really putting finally giving standardization the relevance that it should be given, and really interpreting it as a strategy to face the challenges in the future. So again, as Sally said, join us. We believe we need to create this culture of collaborating through standardization to face the future.
Absolutely, we do. In the interest of time, I'm going to move us on. I think we could keep talking on this subject, but we do need to move forward. And I'm going to ask Alka in the first instance, are we likely to see requirements coming into a future revision of 9001 that directly relate to innovation and technology?
Leo did start out by saying that he and I had this discussion years and years and years ago. To be very transparent, it is not known whether innovation and technology requirements will be explicitly included in the future revision of ISO 9001. However, with that said, ISO 9001, as it stands currently, it does cover innovation. In the context, the organization is required to evaluate internal and external issues. And if the market requires the organization to be innovative, then the organization has to be innovative, and it has to be a part of your quality management system. Also, current clause 10 requires an organization to evaluate its effectiveness of quality management system and implement an improvement plan. So if innovation is required by the customers or automation is required, the organizations will have to do it. These two elements in current ISO 9001 equals to innovation. Even if they are not explicitly recalled out in the future revision of 9001, as Sandra had mentioned earlier, it is an essential process to incorporate into the quality management system of all organizations for many, many reasons. And to ignore the role of innovation and technology can be a significant deficiency when it comes to customer experience, customer expectations, and organizations' products and services.
Thanks, Alka. And I'm going to come to our other three speakers in a moment and ask them whether they want to see more explicit requirements in 9001 at some point in the future. And of course, we don't know when we're going to revise 9001, so everything can change again. So please bear in mind, everyone, this is a snapshot for right now. We all know that the world keeps changing on us. It doesn't stay still. So the answers may not be the same in 6 months' time as they are now. But we do have a question which I want to put to Alka. How can innovation be implemented in a small business? And you have touched on this a little bit, but could you say a little bit more for our questioner, please?
Absolutely. So as far as a small business is concerned, I think one of the things that these businesses need to do is to evaluate as to what is needed in their own business, and then look at how to automate it. Most of the smaller businesses are catering towards either clients or customers. And keeping all the data of their customers, their buying pattern, what is it that they're buying, what is it that they are looking for, and automating that. Many small companies now, what they have done is they have on the buying patterns of their customers, when a customer comes in, they immediately have an application messages sent to the customer saying, hey, you were looking for such and such item, it is on sale. Or the application on their cell phone, customer's cell phone, will remind the customer that if you come in, here are the alternatives to what you're looking for. In other words, smaller business can actually look at what the customer buying pattern is in their companies and then automate via phone applications, that is the smartest and the easiest way to capture customer attention right now, Sally.
Thank you very much, Alka. I'm going to come to Thomas next. Do you think we need requirements in ISO 9001?
The discussion has been very diverse in the past, and I think also actually my position is that in general the approach of 9001 is fitting to all circumstances, economical scopes and industries, and also adapts these topics of usage of technology and innovation. So I think it is possible to address all these topics, but at least it's not so implicit mentioned. The topic of innovation is mentioned in 2-3 times in ISO 9000 and 9001, but it's always an add-on or not so important topic. So I think in the further discussion, we should focus on the differentiation between or clarification between innovation-related topics and continuous improvement, for example, and maybe to add some clarification, some notes or something in this direction, or maybe also additional guidance to explain how it fits together, what are the differences, and to give the user an idea how to deal with innovation. With technology, I think it is not really necessary to add specific requirements related to technology because also here the standard is open and it's never defined how to do something or what kind of technology shall be used or not, but it's always defined the generic requirement and the generic approach. And I think also here it can be interesting to go through and find topics where additional guidance is needed. For example, in the usage of technology in special circumstances, how to deal with it in the management system, and what topics are addressed to give guidance. I think is at least the more important thing than to define more detailed requirements related to the technology.
Thank you, Thomas. And I'm just noticing the time. We have a little over 10 minutes left in our session. So I am going to come to Sandra and Leo very, very quickly. Would you like to see explicit requirements in 9001, yes or no? Or would you prefer to see more guidance, or don't we need anything? But very short, please. Sandra.
Okay, very short, but I need a disclaimer. I agree it's way too soon to say what the future ISO 9001 will look like. Everything is still under discussion and very open. So don't take what we discuss here just as peers as anything for granted. But if we are writing a letter to Santa Claus, I would definitely like to see a stronger emphasis on the importance of making innovation a core process of quality management, and maybe with specific requirements requiring the organizations to partner with academia and partner with standardization bodies. Just quick examples. You are an organization, you are facing a problem in your production or in your human resources with your personnel. Just contact a university, a polytechnic, a vet school nearby. They have students, they have teachers, they need to produce significant work, student work supervised by teachers. So probably your problem will be embraced very happily for someone to develop science on it. And you get to collaborate and probably will get for free a solution for your own problem. Again, go to your standardization body, see if there is a technical committee on your sector, sit with your peers, discuss your problems with them, and probably you can benchmark and you can peer learn with each other, and in a collaborative way, everyone wins. That's my Santa Claus letter.
Thank you, Sandra. We'll see if he listens. Leo, very briefly, please. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just one question before that regarding innovation in the small and medium enterprises. In TC 279, we have issued 3 years ago ISO 56002. It's a guidance standard for managing innovation, mainly focus in the small and medium enterprises. And we are drafting ISO 56001, that is innovation management system requirement for certification purposes. And also ISO we are going to launch the handbook at the end of June. Now, in our meeting, it has issued a handbook to how to apply innovation in small and medium enterprises. So ISO is delivering these, tools or helps through the TC 279. Regarding new requirements in ISO 9001, believe it or not, 80% aligned with ALCA. So, but still I have 20% of differences, of course, and we need to have something to fight. Otherwise, our friendship is not, understandable. And I would say that I'm not expecting new requirements regarding technology. I'm not expecting nothing new, maybe no big news in the core requirements of the standard. But those harmless clauses, context analysis, that's going to become more and more important in this, rapid change environment where technologies are continually changing. The context analysis is taking a lot more importance, the role it plays in setting how you have to manage quality. And also another field that those harmless clauses that everybody knew has under control, competencies. The competencies of the quality management people with all this technology in place and in the way conformity assessment is going to be carried out are completely different maybe to the competencies you needed 10 years before. So maybe we can see changes in those clauses that many people feel are secondary, the context analysis, competencies, and so on, and less changing maybe in the core clauses of Chapter 8 or Chapter 7 or Chapter 9. That's my point.
Competence is key.
Still, we have something to fight, huh? Still.
Okay, everybody. Now, you are all a very chatty lot, and you've got a lot of ideas. So now I'm going to give you a challenge. In one sentence, one idea each, please. How else can organisations build sustained success? Alka first, because you're first on my screen.
Hire multi-generational employees, i.e. baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials. So there's a cross-fertilization of knowledge. Invest in employee skill set. One sentence.
And leading so beautifully into our final webinar of the day about putting people at the heart of your success. Perfect marketing. We're back to the matchbox in space. Thomas, please.
One sentence is heavy, but I would say have one big focus on your mission and strategy on sustainability. So incorporate sustainability in your strategy and communicate it to all the stakeholders. And consider all stakeholders, their needs and expectations, and integrate them in your policy strategy and the management system, and you should be successful.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Sandra.
I would say be curious, embrace vulnerability. In these times of uncertainty, try to substitute anxiety for excitement and for curiosity. Don't get overwhelmed with everything there is. Just keep an open mind and embrace it and cherry pick what works for you.
Great, thank you. And Leo, please.
Yes, I think that during this webinar, we focus in one pillar, this fulfilling, present and future customer needs and expectations through quality management and innovation. But I think another pillar that is going to be critical for sustained success is what Thomas said about sustainability. From my point of view, the third pillar is governance, compliance, and transparency. So you might fulfill your customer needs, but if your organization doesn't have transparency, it's not going to be accepted by society. And if we cannot manufacture in a sustainable way, the organization is not going to be accepted, it's not going to be success in the future. So I think we have to think in those three pillars: sustainability, transparency, and fulfilling future and present customer needs and expectations.
And sustainability certainly is going to be a growing topic as we go forward, and you're already touching on the ethics. I hadn't mentioned before, but the summary paper of the work from the Emerging Themes Group is available on the ISO TC176 website, which you'll get a link to in this slide pack if you don't know your way there already, but a simple Google search will find it. So do have a look and you can see what we've been looking at. And also I'm going to quickly ask Alka, what will the Emerging Trends Task Group do next? You've got less than a minute.
Well, we have a number of things happening right now. There are several activities that are going on. There are 4 teams: maintenance and development of emerging trend papers, external liaisons team, internal liaison team, and liaison with the ISO TCs. The external liaison team has started collaborating and outreaching with the external organizations such as Dabbing Award, World Trade Organization, Union of Japanese Scientists and Engineers, and others. And the purpose is to exchange the ideas there and see what we can implement. Also, we are gathering data to potential changes to current papers and development of new papers. And there are times when we have to also withdraw some of the older papers. So this particular group, Emerging Task Group, is really very heavily involved in looking at overall the liaisons with external, internal, and papers.
And it's worth reminding everybody, I think, Alka, that this task group isn't just looking at ISO 9001. It's looking across the full range of, I think it's 21 standards in TC 176. And equally seeing, do we need to write guidance on something else? Is there a white paper we should be producing? Should we have a webinar on a subject, for example, as things come up? This is an evolving group because the trends keep evolving. As Sandra said, you know, don't take our answers as gospel because they may not be relevant at all. In 5 minutes time, it keeps changing. Okay, we are more or less out of time. So I just want to ask you to follow our work and get involved. We do have a LinkedIn group as well as our website. We are all happy to engage you in conversation, to listen to your ideas, to hear about the challenges you're having. And there is a challenge that's come through about effectiveness, how you can measure the effectiveness of your QMS apart from audits. We can't get into that today. I'm really, really sorry. We've run out of time, but we will try and cover that for you at some other time. We will talk about that. So I would just like to say thank you. Thank you to all of our attendees for being here, and I hope you also come to our last session of the day, which is only about an hour and a half away. It's not too far away. But thank you also to our speakers. More than anything, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for getting up early. Alka, Thomas, Sandra, Leo. I look forward to more discussions in the future. Take care and see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.